Welcome to the Flat Track Factory. If you're a tire nerd like me, today's a really cool day. Dunlop is just out with a brand new dirt track tire called the DT4, and we've got a set. I thought you might like to see what it looks like, what the new tread pattern is, and then maybe take some objective measurements like a durometer reading to get a sense of the compound and weigh it. Then maybe do some more subjective things like squish on it, flex the carcass with our hands, and get a broad sense of construction similarities or differences from the previous version. So I had them send me along the last of the previous version called the DT3 for Comparison. You saw me unbox them, so let's take a closer look. For measuring rubber compounds, there's a device called a durometer, commercially available. This one's by Intercomp. You can get them online. I'm not sure that it would be the wisest thing to get into exactly what the number is going to be, because I'm not sure that this one is calibrated correctly, and then the temperature of this room is going to affect that. So I think in the interest of fairness and not confusing the issue too much, I'll just durometer these tires and then give you the percentage difference between them. So that way people won't get stuck on the exact number that I get here in my shop in February. This tire is the previous version called the DT3. It has a build date of about a year ago. This tire has a build date of the third week of January. That's last month as this is filmed. So tires naturally continue to vulcanize and get harder over time. So this would not be a valid comparison on that reason alone. Also, this tire is a new compound available that is considered a step softer than the softest that was available previously. So again, not a valid comparison. I'm going to try to run this because I think in many of the circumstances that I run, this will help me a little bit in my particular setup. This is not for everybody. Each track, each night, each temperature, each prep, each bike, each rider, all of these things are very personal decisions, and I'm not advocating that what works for me on my bike at this track on this date at this time is the only way to go. So this is really more of a relative thing to what you're used to, is really the only data that is relevant to you. So this is just how I do this, and if you're interested in getting into this, you just need to start a database for what you use on this track, in this temperature, on this day, on this bike, and then that's basically meaningless until you go back again and then ride the same bike on the same track with the same tire, but the conditions will be different. You have to document those and then look at those trends over time. So let's go ahead and just take a look at these tires and just see what we get. All right, so we'll just kind of punch in, and the pin gives you an initial number and then it kind of settles in. So you just kind of check that out. I spent a few minutes taking some measurements and then did some math. And what I came up with, again, and I'm not saying that I'm a preeminent expert on this, but it's the same technique that I've been using for about 15 years. I did those several measurements on both tires and then did the math. I came up with about a 15% difference in compound. So that would mean, compared to the previous DT3 R5 compound, the new DT4 R3 compound is about 15% softer. In my experience, that would be a noticeable difference in both edge grip, drive grip, and wear. But again, I'm not a preeminent expert, but I am a nerd about this, and I do like to look into it, and I have had long conversations with one of my friends who was at the time a Goodyear tire engineer, and he pointed me to several books. So take that for what it's worth. I'm just a guy on the internet. But there is a tremendous amount of things going on in tires. You have the chemistry of the compound. If you could imagine baking a cake, a small ingredient change substantially changes the outcome. The temperature, the time, all of the things in the vulcanization process change. So there's way more going on in compounds other than just a durometer. But it's really the only practical measurement that we have. So that's what I do. Also, as I mentioned before, another huge factor in tire performance is the construction of the carcass. How the belts are laid, how many of them, what material they are, the angles at which they're laid. All of these things have huge factors, and that in synergy with the tire compound and then the pressure that you run and then all the other factors that go into it create your end result. So just wanted to let you know that there is not an end-all be-all of using this device that's going to make or break you on that. So this may come as a surprise to some of you, but I actually try to think about what I'm going to say before I say it on camera. Then I watch the video after it's posted and I look like I never thought a word about it, but I do. So in this case, I'm not going to do that. I just want to give you my raw, completely subjective, unfiltered opinions on if I can tell any difference in the construction of these tires. So I'm just going to kind of push on them and see if I can. The new tire does, it does have more of a tire shape to it, that's for sure. That just could simply be a fact that this tire's been sitting in a stack for a year and this one's brand new. So I don't think that really has anything to do with anything. This tire does feel a little more substantial, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little heavier, but I think the tire guys told me that it was, so that's probably why I think that. So just pushing on them and just getting a sense of how it kind of resists being squashed, like some of the other tires made offshore. They have a much softer, flexier carcass to them, and this feels like a stout, stiff sidewall Dunlop, like they are kind of renowned for being. So there's nothing crazy there. I'll tell you, when I heard they were coming out with a new tire, I sort of panicked because I really don't care for the other brands of tires with the incredibly soft, flexible, floppy carcass to them, and this is really exactly what I hoped it would be. So it's just very much similar. Just pulling on, trying to feel for the stiffness of the sidewall, how many plies that they have in it and how stiff the bead rather is. I mean, it just, honestly, I can't tell any difference. So for me, because I'm a fanboy of this tire, I very much like it. I have a decent setup for it. So to me, yeah, this is good news. So if you like the feel of the tire with the pressures that have worked for you, and I'll tell you, I like them low. Typically, a very stiff carcass tire will run a lower pressure than a soft, floppy, flimsy type of carcass. So that's not to say flimsy that's bad. I mean, it's just a different way of doing things. And road racing tires are the same way. If you know anything about road racing, your Pirelli and your Michelins are typically a lighter, softer carcassed tire. And they work great. People can make them work great. The Dunlops are a heavier, thicker, beefier, stiffer carcass tire. And it just requires a different setup. So it's not innately good or innately bad that these tires are stiff, but to me it feels, I don't think there's any way that I could tell a difference if I was blindfolded. So that's my totally unscripted perception. Let's weigh these things. We'll start first with the previous generation DT3. See what we come up with. All right, 13, 15, 4, okay. So 13 pounds for the old generation and 15.4 gives us a difference of 2.4 pounds. 2.4 over 13 on my fancy faux carbon fiber bathroom scale, if you want to trust that, gives us about an 18.5% difference in weight. Seems like a lot, but really in the grand scheme of your wheel, your sprocket, your disc and carrier, the tube, all of those combined, is it enough to make a difference? I don't know exactly, but there's the data for you. It's definitely a substantial Dunlop breed of tire, in my opinion. There's the new DT4 by Dunlop. And by the way, I don't get paid by Dunlop for any of this. I'm just a tire nerd and fanboy, and I thought you might like to see it. About now, YouTube is going to pop up a preview of one of the Flat Track Factory's other videos that it thinks you might like to see. And then down here is the subscription button. If you haven't subscribed yet, or you don't have an account, make one, it's free. And that way you can subscribe to the channel and get notified when we put up more videos. Thanks for watching.